Yes, hello. My name is Cameron Guy. I am an evangelist, and I would like to accomplish this video with the letter that I have done, and that is about 6 months ago. I was preaching at Ipswich train station. The points that I've made in the letter is that I have done evangelism down at the Gold Coast, the top end of Cavill Avenue, down at the Information Centre. I communicated with the district office of the Gold Coast, and down there I had a permit from Gold Coast City Council, and I had met all their requirements of Gold Coast City Council. Now, the Ipswich City Council does not have any permits as such, so they have no permits. So basically, I am one person, so I don't fit under the Police Powers and Responsibility Act. But I was speaking with the rail squad in Brisbane, 30728973. Now, basically, I have done a map here, and there's the map. So I'm way over. Give me a sec. This is me over here, and this entrance is about 6 foot across, even longer. So technically, I'm not doing anything wrong there. I'm on the public footpath, as you see. This is Bell Street, Ipswich. And the question is that when I'm down at Surfers Paradise, up the top end of Cavill Avenue and down near the Information Centre, and also can be opposite McDonald's, the question is that I am not harassed by the police. I'm not victimised by the police. But the question is that down at the Gold Coast, people would make complaints about street preachers, but they would never really act upon them at all. They would, most of the time there was no need to act because there is cameras about. The cameras that are about you can see. Now, I object to the rail squad making slanderous and defamation about what I do. I have a video camera that is recording why I am doing my preaching. That is for accountability, and that is for public accountability. Now, the Queensland Police have cameras on their body as body armour. They have the cameras and they record the public. Now, when I was down at Queensland Rail, as I was told by Queensland Rail, it is quite acceptable what you're doing. You're not breaking any laws, because if a shop across the road had a camera looking across to the station, we can't tell them to take that camera down. So I had done all my investigations, and they say the camera is quite legal and acceptable to have. Now, I do not think it's acceptable, because the same example, we have cameras all over Ipswich, and we have cameras all over the Gold Coast, especially in Surfers Paradise, especially in central Ipswich down Brisbane Street. Imagine if someone went and made a complaint to the police officer that someone in that camera was inappropriately looking at them. Would the police react to the Ipswich City Council, oh, you'll have to remove that and take that down? No, it's a civil matter. And it's up to a civil court to determine whether that camera and what is happening with that camera is appropriate. The question is that all the videos that I've ever taken are logged for the purposes of public accountability, liability, and etc. And they are there for a safety reason, just as police carry cameras on them for safety reasons. Under human rights laws, I have a right to protect myself, and I have a right to make sure that I am protected. Now, I have also placed an interview of witness to behaviour of the rail police, which were from a juvenile that was 16 years of age and a younger girl that was only around 13. So as I've said, I've made this complaint because I need reassurance that I'm not going to be victimised or targeted by the Ipswich Police, that they can behave like the Gold Coast Police, the Surfers Paradise Police, and that we can have some sort of good relationship. Now, I believe that I am writing this complaint to not foresee in the future the police harassing or victimising myself. I am doing a community service as such that in the near future, again, I offer people coffee or a Milo and a biscuit. Sometimes homeless people would come up to me, young people would talk to me and etc. The question that I would ask is that I want all consideration that I would prefer to have a good relationship with the Queensland Police, and that the Ipswich Police and the Ipswich Rail Squad or Ipswich Rail Police do not make it personal like last time. That they can somewhat be considerate to the fact that I'm really not doing anything wrong. I think we can all learn from our everyday of what we do and from hindsight. But I'm asking for the Queensland Police to understand that on the 22nd of April around 4:35 p.m. I will go down to Ipswich train station on the public footpath and I'll set up for evangelism. I have concerns when I start on the 22nd of April. I do not need to be a victim or harassed and become victimised by the rail squad of police, and that when I was down at Service Paradise, Gold Coast, they did not victimise me and harass me. That they had complaints, but they did not give me any move-on orders. And I believe for that reason, this letter of complaint is to get reassurance, as I had with the Gold Coast Police District Office, that they had an understanding with Service Paradise Police that there was a communication and understanding, and there was no need. There was no need to overreact or push buttons. People don't like what people do. The points that I make is that the Ipswich Rail Squad and the Ipswich Police, when the politicians want their volunteers to go down the rail station and hand out things about the politicians or anybody else, the police don't react to them. And the police don't make it personal. So my question is, why are they making it personal with myself? I believe that question would be is because it's on religious grounds. Now, it is against the Australian Constitution, and it's arbitrarily depriving a person of their religious beliefs. The question is, the Queensland Police, the Rail Squad, are becoming so desperate, they are looking for anything to victimise me with. They want to use laws about me blocking entranceways and stuff like this, and I am not blocking any entranceways. And I don't mind getting a tape measure out, and we can get technical, and we can go through minister after minister, state and federal ministers. We can contact the Australian Federal Police, which obviously this will go to them as well. The question that I ask is that I do understand what respect is, and I do understand to cooperate with law enforcement officers, and I do understand. But when someone is providing a community service, and people are voluntarily wanting me to pray for them or wanting just prayer, it could be their mother's sick, or it could be their brother's sick, or it could be just a family problem. Sometimes crime prevention and intervention and prevention and education is the best purpose for people that are wandering the streets or that are homeless. They just need someone to talk to. And at one stage at Ipswich train station, as I said, eventually I provided them with coffee, tea, and they would just have a chat and then go away. They had somebody they could relate to and talk to. I think that's a good community service. I think it's a really good thing that young people, instead of doing things they should not be doing, they can come up and have a chat. They can talk about things. They can air things that they wish to air about. But the question is that, as I've said to the Braveheart Foundation, Daniel Morecambe Foundation, and hence the video that I have put on there as an interview with two young people, dated on the interview of witness of behaviour of the rail police, which were juveniles, interviewed Ipswich police harassing young people, and that was on the March 6, 2015 that I was doing that. My question would be is that it is better them to have somebody that they can talk to, and it is a community service. I think there needs to be good community police liaising with young people, not swearing at them and certainly not behaving inappropriately. The question is, police, the law says just because police become annoyed with something, where does it say in the legislation, I'm annoyed with this person, So I have the right to behave towards a member of the public in that way. You have the Police Powers and Responsibility Act. You have the Crime Act. Now, if a person is not committing a crime, is not breaking the law, the police need to use discretion. And what I'm asking for, and I believe very strongly, and I will allegedly accuse the Ipswich Rail Squad, the Ipswich Rail Police, that they will step outside of the railroad station onto a public footpath, harass me, victimise me, and cause me grief. I think at the end of the day, that's unacceptable. It's not warranted. If it's not warranted on the Service Paradise on the Gold Coast, I had a good relationship with the District Office of the Gold Coast. I was having a good relationship there, and I was talking with the sergeant. The sergeant said the same thing. You know, we understand that people will make complaints in Service Paradise about street preachers, but at the end of the day, it's how we deal with the public. It's how we deal with the situation. And majority of the times, as I have been told, that we don't give move-on orders just for the sake of it. We don't do it to get at someone. And I make that allegation that the Ipswich Rail Police will attack me, will use inappropriate behaviour, inappropriate policy making, inappropriate policy decisions. They won't use their discretions of power, and they will certainly try to do everything in their power to move me on. Now, that can be challenged in a high court or another court of law with a lawyer and a barrister. And if it is proven that police are acting outside of their powers, outside of their jurisdiction, and that's what the Gold Coast Police, along with the Gold Coast City Council, would say, we don't need police to behave in Service Paradise to the point they overstep the mark. There's tourists down Service Paradise, they're having a good time. Police don't need to overreact or push buttons or carry on, because that's unacceptable. That's overreacting and pushing buttons. We need to form good community policing, and we need to understand that, you know, people will make complaints about street preachers, but we're not going to overreact. There's cameras in the street, there's cameras everywhere. This is the same scenario for Ipswich Police, the Ipswich Rail Squad. But I think that in the past reasons, this is why I'm doing this complaint, is because I feel that the Ipswich Police Rail Squad will victimise me, will go out of their way to be unethical, will go out of their way not becoming a police officer. I will say that I have a disability. I have frontal lobe damage and traumatic brain injury. I believe that the Queensland Police break the Disability Action Plan, and that's something concern for the Queensland Minister. Why do you have the Disability Action Plan, which is in the Queensland Police Service's website? The majority, not the minority, the majority of Queensland Police don't even know that is existence. Now, at the end of the day, I do not think it's acceptable to give a move-on order just because someone makes a complaint. I don't believe they properly investigated it. Now, why are the Ipswich Rail Police making things personal? I had the Boovell Police come one day down to talk to me. They knew that I had a disability, and they understood, look, you're really not doing anything wrong. We had a complaint, but we're not going to act on it. But the thing is, they didn't act on it. That was the Boovell Police that come down from Boovell, because apparently there was no one else to do the job. That was a waste of taxpayers' money personally. But anyway, they came down, they had a chat, there wasn't a problem. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding, but they did their job correctly, the Boovell Police. And that's what I expect, good relationship. I had a good relationship with the Boovell Police when they came down. At first there was a bit of misunderstanding, but that got all sorted out. They were willing to go about their jobs and their business, and they understood that, people are going to make complaints, but they didn't have to give me a move-on order. So what is the Queensland Rail Squad or the Queensland Police, Ipswich Police, why do they have to target me and victimise me in a way and arbitrarily deprive me of legally what I'm doing is in the Australian Constitution, arbitrarily deprive me of providing a community service, where people can just have a chat. This is not religious, this is not religion, but the point that I make is that I just want some reassurance that when I start my evangelism on the the 22nd of April, that that there is not going to be any more reoccurrence. I would prefer the Ipswich Rail squad to behave like the Boot Vale police. They come down, they investigate it, they said, look, we're not going to make you move on, we're not going to do anything because there's no need to be doing this. They understood that people are going to make complaints. There was no need for the Boot Vale police to overreact, push buttons, or carry on. They were actually acting very similar to what the Surfers Paradise Police, the Gold Coast Police would act. Surfers Paradise Police are used to having lots of complaints about street preachers. But is it necessary for them to complain and react and push buttons and do something about it? No, the majority of the time they observe from a distance and they see there's nothing going on, so there's no reason for the reaction. So I'm just asking for that reassurance that the police, the Ipswich Rail Squad, or for that matter anywhere I go in Queensland, that the Ipswich Rail Squad, the Ipswich Police, the Queensland Police holistically, from a state Queensland perspective, will have tolerance and understanding that I believe that there has to be respect of the law, that needs to be a cooperation with the Queensland Police. But I do understand that why that if I was doing what I was doing in Surfers Paradise, why is there a need to behave? Why specifically that police at Ipswich Rail Squad need to act in person? They need to act personally, take a very much interest when really there is nothing going on. As I said, the Boot Vale police came down, yes, at first, but after that we seemed to have a good relationship. We broke down the barriers and were able to talk and have a good relationship. And as I said, they did not need to get involved. So I think at the end of the day, I'm just asking the Queensland Police, the Queensland Government, that to understand that I want to provide that community, something that I'm doing, a community interest, and that it is not just about evangelism, but it's also about talking to people, letting people vent to me, just talking to people, being human, and just letting people also just have someone and providing a community service. And that's what I'm doing. I'm providing that community service as well. And so please understand that when you hear the word evangelism, that's not exactly what I'm about. Yes, I'm an evangelist, but I don't get on a soapbox, and I don't certainly tell anyone what to do. I want to respect people. I want to respect the rights of people, and I certainly want to cooperate wherever I possibly can. But I am providing that community service, and my real fears is that when I go down on Friday to start and set up my evangelism again, what's going to happen is I'm going to be harassed unlawfully, I'm going to be victimised, and I'm going to be set upon like wild. This is just an analogy. I'm using analogy like wild animals set upon their prey. That's what I believe will happen. Look, we see in ISIS, we see in other countries how police and how authorities treat people for standing up for their human rights. I think that this is not, we're a country that have human rights. We have a democratic society. And I think at the end of the day, I really do think that the Queensland Police, the Ipswich Rail Squad, the Ipswich Police need to have that understanding that they don't need to overreact when people make complaints. They don't need to behave in that way just to say, okay, the best way that we can shut this person down is give them a move-on order, which that move-on order is inappropriate, unacceptable. If it was challenged in a law of court, I believe the question is, was it warranted to give a move-on order? No, it probably wasn't, because they don't give move-on orders every day of the week to street evangelists. They in Surfers Paradise, they certainly react to the public's complaint, but they realise that the majority of the times there's no reason to overreact, and there's no reason to behave against a person doing evangelism. The question that I would have is that I'm providing a community service, That's where it leads to, is providing that community service, an outlet for young people to talk to me, an outlet just to be human. And that's what it's about. It's building those relationships and being human. As I said, if people want prayer, if people just want to talk, if people just want to enjoy themselves, we are not in the days of Joh Bjelke-Petersen where the law was if one or two people or three people were meeting in the street, then that was unlawful. It was against the law, and you could be arrested and thrown into jail. We don't have these laws anymore, and I think it's important that there are these services on the streets that can provide a community service and that can actually just reassure people that I was providing that community service, and that's probably what I'll get back into, providing a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and a biscuit. This will be my first day going back into evangelism on the 22nd of April, and I'm hoping that I can have good relationships with the Ipswich Rail Squad. I can have a good relationship. Now, when I rang the Ipswich Rail Squad, it seems to me that there's an overreaction by them. There's a misunderstanding. They are not using the Disability Action Plan, which is annexed off the Disability Act. They would rather jump to conclusions, form their opinions, make their assumptions, which are all wrong and personally are defamatory, defamation against a person's character, and they're actually stating things that are wrong. I think that it's easy for people to misunderstand me. But as I said, I'm providing that community service to the public, and that when I'm talking about evangelism, it's not that sort of evangelism. It is more a community service that I provide. So I'm asking the Honourable William Bill Burns, or Burns, I believe, the Police Minister of Queensland, the Attorney General's office, that there can be some understanding and some good relations between the Ipswich Rail Squad, Ipswich Police, that we can work in as a community service, and the understanding and the respect that also the Gold Coast City Council, the Gold Coast District Office, the Service Paradise Police, they all understood and they knew what I was doing. There was cameras all around us. There's cameras in Ipswich as well. So at the end of the day, those cameras in Ipswich are no different to the Service Paradise cameras. And I think that you would find that with a barrister and a good lawyer, and a good barrister, they can pull those footage off those cameras off the streets, show them in a court. And then if a police officer is saying, well, you did this and you did this at this hour and this time, and that footage can be pulled from those cameras by a lawyer and a barrister, it would prove only that I'm being victimised, I'm being treated unfairly. The thing is that the police are not doing what Service Paradise Police are doing, and that is using the discretion of their powers and realising that they can't act on all these complaints. They will listen to the public. But the majority of the time in Service Paradise, when it came to me preaching in Service Paradise, we built this good relationship. And that's what I'm talking about. Good relationship, good police-community relations, and also building that community service up and providing a community service and an outlet for people just to talk to someone that can listen and understand them. So I'm just addressing these issues right now because I want a fairer outcome, and I want some understanding that there doesn't need to be this overreaction. There doesn't need to be a personal issue in this matter at all. All there needs to be is some understanding. I'm going to leave it here, and I would gladly ask for responses. But the fact of the matter is, I'm just asking for the reassurance, and this is what I asked of the Gold Coast District Office. I'm asking for reassurance that we're not going to have this overreaction, this personal overreaction, and pushing of buttons and overreaction, and it's just causing embarrassment for the Queensland Government, and it's certainly causing issues because all I'm providing is that community service for other people. So I'm going to leave it there, and if you want to know any more questions, sure, please get in contact with me, which is on this letter. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk soon. Thank you.